Welcome to the SEMA Live Workshop. This is a recording of the session you may recently have missed or you'd like to see again. If you want to view this video full screen, use the F11 key on your keyboard to switch between full screen and not full screen should you choose to. Here in front of us is an example of the training package that we're about to start creating. It's designed to be the same size screen resolution as netbooks and the Samsung Galaxy tabs, and is set at 1024 pixels wide and 600 pixels high. This is an example of how you create content of any size using Content Point from the SEMA Atlantic Link suite. Let's have a quick look at what we're going to create. We'll start off in the Activities chapter here, and we'll work through the pages here, and you'll see there's a video, and the video has got some audio, so we'll be adding video to the page. And something light-hearted as part of our training. We've got a ball. The idea is we try and keep that into the air as much as we can, and if I can keep it in the air for more than 5 clicks, we'll be setting a pass mark. You can see the score building up at the top there, and congratulations to me, I've just passed. Let's just click on the next button, and here's a drag and drop exercise. So the idea is that you have objects from the right hand side that you have to try and match with items on the left, and here you can see trees, and hopefully we'd find trees in forests, and whales we would look for oceans, camels would be found in deserts, and clouds go to skies, and worms go to soils. So there we go, I've got 5 out of 5 in that exercise, and we'll be building one of these shortly. Feedback form, if we ever want to add any feedback into our training as prerequisite analysis of our learners' state of knowledge, or we can provide feedback after the training to give an indication of how much the learner has gained from the training that they've received. So I'm going to put in here, when did you attend this training? So that was today, and I'm going to submit that. And you can see down at the bottom of the screen we've got a score, we've got interactions as well, and you can see that the interactions that have been sent through to the LMS as an interaction string. Right, that's the end of that chapter, so I'm going to go back to the beginning, and it may well be that you've got PowerPoint in your organisations that you want to import into Content Point. So here's a few pages of the PowerPoint that we're going to be dropping into our training package, and the idea being that if you've got old PowerPoint that you want to add and wrap up into your training package and make part of a SCORM package, then that's something you can do with the Atlantic Link suite. We're going to be looking at capturing screens, and here we have our Show Me and Try Me and Test Me buttons. You capture once, but use multiple times for whatever mode you would prefer. So if I were to click on Show Me, I'll be able to sit back and just watch the mouse coming onto the screen and selecting key areas of the process that I need my learner to understand. Here we're adding the SEMA website to our favourites list. And you can see my mouse is moving over on the right hand side as the mouse over on the left hand side there is now clicking on the next item. Let me just go back to the menu here, and here I can now select Try Me, and this is where I as the learner have to interact with the steps, and I'm given prompts indicating where I should click, and I need to type in the SEMA website into there, and click on the Add button, and that concludes that step. Going back to the menu button, and we've got Show Me and Try Me, Test Me is the third choice, and here I have to try and remember what it is that I was learning how to do, where I'd seen the Show Me animated and the Try Me I'd had the prompts. So I'm going to add to favourites, and here we got the SEMA website. Just type that information in there, click on Add, and then we would then click on the next button here. This is the end of this particular chapter. Okay, coming back to the main menu, and we've got a final quiz. You can see the progress marks indicating the fact that I've completed those chapters. We can set prerequisites, preventing our learner from starting the quiz, for instance, until they've been to the previous chapters. So a few questions here, and we've got planet closest to the Sun, of course, is Mercury, and some feedback specific to the fact that I'd chosen Mercury. If I'd chosen, for instance, Pluto, then I would have got a different bit of feedback there. And it's false. London is not the capital city of Belgium. Click on continue. Rivers in England. We've got the Thames and the Trent. And these are randomised, so the next time I come to this quiz and I get these questions, I'd get these question choices in a different order the second time, as well as the questions being in a randomised order as well. So cities in Europe, that would be Paris and Rome and London. And click on submit. There we go. And I can show my detailed results to the learner, and the learner can preview these. Also has the ability to print them out if you give them that ability, that functionality. And we'll click on continue, and here we've got congratulations, we've come to the end, and I can collect my certificate of completion. So I'm now happy, I've completed my training. So let's see how we built that. We're going to start in the workbooks on page 10. And the first thing we're going to do is to start over on the right hand side. You can see Course Creation Wizard, and I'm going to click on that. And the first thing that we get asked is to choose whether we're going to create a new course for our new training, and the answer is yes, we do. And we're going to give our course a name, and we're going to call this TZ Live. Okay, and clicking on the next button down in the bottom right hand corner. And we need to give our training a title, and our training is going to be Environmental Awareness. Environmental Awareness, here we go. And we can give it a training description. We'll call it Test Course for the moment, but we can change that to be anything we want to at any point in the future. And I'm going to click on the Next button. We can choose from a variety of different resolutions, and it's 1024 by 600 that we're choosing today. That's because we're creating content for the Galaxy tab and your netbook kind of resolution size. And we'll click on the Next button, and we get asked, do we want to create structure from a template? The answer is yes, we do. And we've got a custom template selected here, which is specific to the size that we need. There's our live template. Let's click on Next, and Next again. And what's happening is that our template will now be brought into our new package and structured so that we've got a skeletal framework for our training, and various pages will be in place for us with the fonts, the colours and background images selected. And we're going to start off over in our slide editor to begin with. Now you'll see that my view is very slightly different to the view that you're currently looking at, so it's quite likely that at some point in time you may move properties panels around, for instance, and things might be in a different position. So a good feature to know from the word go is if you were to select View and Reset Layout, that's the 7th item down there, that allows you to put all of the panels back. So if you do lose anything, then not to worry, it can be brought back very, very easily. And so here we are, we're looking at the first page of content, and what I'm going to get you to have a quick look at is I'm going to ask you to preview the slide that you're currently looking at, and that's going to be the icon up at the top there with the magnifying glass hovering over the document. The equivalent function key for that is F12, so if you'd like to click on that icon or press F12, and that will allow you to preview the training in a window. And you can see here it's fairly plain, very boring, not very interesting at all. So we're going to make it look quite considerably more interesting. So if you'd like to turn over to page 12, you can see how we start to change the background to this training. So I'm going to close that preview of that training that's in Internet Explorer, and I'm going to come back to Slide Editor. And I want to look in my Properties panel over on the right hand side. I'm looking at the page properties to start off with. Because it's tucked in the corner there, I do want to bring it out, and the quickest thing to do is just double click on the word Properties and just drag it to make it just look a little bit larger like that. Okay. Now I want to have a background image, so I'm going to click on the little grey block there, and from my drop down I'm going to select the menu image there, the 1024 600 menu.jpg, and having selected that, you can see a little bit of a preview of the background layer, and clicking on OK, yes, I want to insert this background image. So straight away there's a bit of a change there. Let's add a little bit more to it. I'm just going to save the changes that I've made so far, and we want to go to the page and alter the text on the page. You can see it says welcome to the training course there, and I'm going to double click on the word training just to highlight the text, and I'm going to change that to say environmental awareness. So environmental awareness. There we go. That's it. So welcome to the environmental awareness course. And what I also want to do is I want to add some brand animation, look and feel for this style of course that matches our organisational requirements. And to do that we want to have a pre-prepared flash animation. So I'm going to go to my toolbox, and in my core elements I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom, and you'll see there's a flash movie there. So I'm just going to drag that onto the page. Doesn't matter immediately where I put it, so all I'm going to do is just double click in the middle of that flash movie placeholder, and turning over to page 14, clicking on the drop down here, you can see at the very top there the menu movie.swf. I'm going to select that, and you can see there's an animation there that's been pre-prepared by our graphics department. So I'm clicking on OK, and yes, I want to insert this source for that flash movie element. Now I could be very specific about where I want to have it on the page, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosely drag it roughly to about the right height, and I'm going to right click and center in slide horizontally. That'll mean that it's perfectly centered on the page, and also I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to send to the back so that it's behind all of the text when I preview it. So if you like to click on either of the save icons, doesn't really matter which one you use at the moment, so I'm going to save the current slide, and once I've pressed save the current slide I'm going to F12 to preview what it is that I've done so far. And here you can see I've got my training package looking much more as I'd want it to look, just with a bit of an animation and adding some text onto the page and that background graphic. Okay, let's close down the preview from Internet Explorer. Back to our slide editor, and we want to start adding some content. So I'm just going to move my properties panel very slightly, and I'm going to just hover my mouse over the edge of my Training Explorer just to expand it slightly, and I'm going to click on the plus to expand my content section, and click on the plus to expand my module 1 there. And the first thing I want to look at is this video page, slide 16, and we're currently on page 15 at the moment of your workbooks, and it's slide 16 that we're going to open up, so I'm going to double click on that to open it. And this is part of the page we can see because we're running in a sort of a 1024 768 screen resolution as I'm recording. We can see less than we might want to be able to see at a higher resolution, but we have some tools at the top here on the icon bar that allow us to zoom out to be able to see more of what we're doing. And I want to have a movie on this page, so I'm going to go to my toolbox, and in my core elements, we used the flash movie last time. I've just got an ordinary animation, just an ordinary video that I'm going to play on this page. So I'm going to drag my movie frame placeholder onto the page, and you can see you've got an empty box there. I'm going to double click in the middle of that movie frame, and from the drop down at the top I've got some existing content that I'm going to use. So that's Spring, and that's the movie of our Bumblebee, and we'll click on OK. And yes, I want to insert that movie element. Now we could drag that movie and make it larger, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to the size mode property over in the properties panel there, and at the moment it's scale content. We're going to change that to be auto size. Dragging that onto the page, I'm going to right click and center in slide horizontally if you'd like to do the same thing. That's our video on the page, and I'm going to save the changes that we've made so far. And again, I'm going to preview the slide using the icon there, or you can press F12, so F12, or preview the current slide. And there we go. You can hear there's our soundtrack with the bee and the birds singing in the background. So there's a video that's dropped onto the page, and it really is that easy. Let me just close this panel, this preview panel down, and we'll start having a look at the next slide, the next bit of content, and this is turning the workbook on to page 16. Now we're going to add an interactive activity. This is our mouse gym, and again I'm going to zoom out so we can see a bit more of the page. This was the activity where we're keeping the ball bouncing in the air, and we don't always want to have games necessarily in our training courses, but sometimes they can be appropriate, especially if you've got a blended solution and some people in a classroom who are doing a bit of e-learning alongside everybody else may be quicker than others, so giving them something to do at the end of that e-learning keeps everybody together so that your tutors can move on to the next part of the training. So let's go to our toolbox and go to our Games tab, and it's the mouse gym we're interested in. So we're going to drag with our left mouse button the mouse gym onto the page and put it up near to the top and right click on it and center in slide horizontally. Now over to our properties, and currently the pass mark is showing as -1. This means that it's turned off, so we need to change that. We need to make that 5, so we have to keep the ball bounced in the air 5 times before we get a pass mark. So let's save the changes that we've made, and again preview using that icon at the top, or an F12, whichever you prefer. So there's our ball in the air, and if I can keep it clicked on, then oops, there we go. Oh yes, I've just scored 7 there, and I've passed, and hopefully you have as well. Let's exit from this preview. Okay, over to Training Explorer, and the next item we want to look at is the drag and drop quiz. This is slide 18, and I'm going to zoom out, and the drag drop quiz exercise starts on page 17 of the workbook. And so we've opened up slide 18, the drag drop quiz, and we're going to go to our toolbox and to the quizzes section down at the bottom here. In the quizzes section, you'll find a drag drop quiz. There are actually 2. There's a basic one and a more advanced one. And I'm going to drag the drag drop quiz onto the page. Once I've dragged it onto the page, I'm going to right click on it and center in slide horizontally. Okay, so that's dragged our drag drop quiz onto the page, and I'm going to scroll down and have a look at a couple of the properties. Now the first property we want to look at is the colour of the frame itself. So I'm going to go to box colour and click on the little grey block over on the right hand side, and I'm just going to hover my mouse over in the top right hand corner of my screen. You can see my mouse is now turned to a pipette, and if I left click there, whatever I click on will absorb the colour of where my mouse is. Click on OK, and when I publish this or preview it, my colour will be visible on my page. Now I have to add some questions, and I'm going to start in the drag text 01 here, and I'm just going to make my properties panel just a little bit wider there. And my first question is going to be trees and forests. Of course, trees being found in forests. I'm just going to separate those 2 items with a hash symbol. Trees will be fixed on the left hand side, and forests will be one of the draggable items from the right hand side. Our second question will be Wales, and followed by the hash symbol, and oceans. Our third question is going to be camels, and of course they're found in deserts. And number 4, we're going to have clouds, and they're found in skies. And finally, our last one, we've got worms. And of course worms are found in the soil, so we'll have worms and soils. There we go. There we go. And there we go. Fabulous stuff. So there's 5 items there. And we also want to have some feedback text for if our learner gets it correct or incorrect. So feedback text if you fail. We'll just have oh dear in there, and you can type some more if you want to. And if you've passed, let's have congratulations. And again, in the real world, you'd want to type something much more useful to the learner than just something simple like that. And I'm going to save the changes that are made so far. We could be quite specific about where we put this on the page, but for today we're going to be fairly just open to where it is on the page. There's one more thing we haven't done, and we haven't set a pass mark yet. So here's our pass mark. It's currently showing as 100%. I'm going to make it slightly easier, and we'll have a pass mark of 60. So having made those changes, let's save what we've done so far, and we'll have a preview of the page. F12 to preview, or use the preview slide icon, will give you the drag and drop quiz. And so here we have trees and forests, of course. Whales hopefully aren't found in deserts, so here you go. So I've got one wrong there. And camels, they're hopefully definitely not found in skies. There's another one wrong there. Oh dear, didn't do very well. So you can see here I've got a few right and I've got a few wrong, but there's no way of changing my mind. Once I've made my selection, I've got my feedback here. And so I've not done very well. I've only got 2 out of 5. Hopefully you've done a little bit better yourself. I'm going to close this preview window down now, and I'm back to Content Point. The last object in Module 1 that I want to have a look at is feedback forms, and we're going to go to our toolbox and drag a feedback form onto the page, but not until I've just zoomed out so I can see a little bit more of the page, and I've just dragged my properties panel out of the way. So into Tools, and we're going to be looking for our Surveys tab, and then in the Surveys tab we've got the feedback form, so I'll just drag that onto the page, and we'll right click on it and center in slide horizontally. So we're going to turn over now to page 20, and we're going to have a look through some of the properties that we need to set for this feedback form. The first thing we want to do is have a look at our questions. So it's question 01 we want to have a look at. So if you'd like to select that property and click on the little grey block over on the right hand side, we have an edit text panel that appears. And so we have to have our first question, and this is going to be, how useful is this information? How useful is this information? Question mark. And we'll have a second line. We're going to have some choices for our learner to select from. So we're going to have very followed by a hash symbol. And then quite is going to be our second choice. Unsure is going to be our third choice, all separated by hash symbols. Not, very, and another hash symbol, and then not at all. There we go. Nothing else to do, and no carriage return at the end of this. We'll just click on OK, and we'll go to question 2. Now, question number 1 was radio buttons. You can have between 2 and 5 selections to choose from. But for our second question, we want to have an open type question where our learner can, if they want to, write War and Peace. So let's have, when did you attend this training? There we go. When did you attend this training? Question mark. No carriage return at the end of that. It's really quite important. It's just all on one line there, and that will give our learner a free text entry text box to fill in. I'm going to scroll down here past all of the questions. You can see you can have up to 30 questions, and we're going to just add some feedback, and so we need to have a thank you message at the end of this. So we need to just say thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your feedback. Put that in there, and we'll save the changes that we've made, and we'll have a little preview of that feedback form. So again, the preview, the current slide icon at the top, or you can press F12 if you wish, and you can see that our feedback form is a little bit large, so we could change the height of that quite easily. We'll click on begin, and here you can see the how useful is information. So we'll have I'm not sure, and click on next, and when did you attend this training? Again, we put in today, and submit. There we go. Thank you for your feedback. And again, the interactions down at the bottom. Here's the interaction string that will go as a SCORM interaction either into Knowledge Point or into a third-party SCORM LMS, so that you can capture that information. And you can also send this as an email as well if you wish. Okay, let's close down the course preview and come back into Content Point. And the next thing we're going to look at is importing legacy material that you may have. So we'll start off over in Module 2, and we'll select our Module 2 to act as our target. And we're going to use the icon up on the top icon bar there. It's that red square icon that looks like a PowerPoint icon. This is our first step to importing our PowerPoint. And I'm going to click on the Browse button, and the file that we're looking for, this is the Galaxy 1024-600, so hopefully you've been able to download that if you're going to be using this to train yourself using this workshop video. And so it's the Galaxy 1024-600 that we're looking for, so either double click on it or select it and open. Now, the view comes back to the File for Import panel, and we're looking at the quality of images. We're going to leave this set at 70% at the moment, and we'll click on Next. So on this page, we need to decide, and if you're turning over in your workbook to page 22, this is where we decide what kind of background we might want to have to start off with. Because our PowerPoint may have an original look and feel that's got nothing to do with the training course that we're building, we might want to make sure that all of those existing background images, background slide images, or even images from the master slide are excluded to be replaced by a new image that we're going to select now. And these are just pre-prepared 1024-600 JPEG images, and this is going to be content that we're going to select here. And clicking on OK, yes, I want to insert that background image. Now, there's a blue bar down at the bottom. I don't want to have that. I can choose to remove that because I've got a global navigation bar, so that's removing that. And you can see you can choose whether to have menu back and next buttons on all of the pages as we go through the import. So we're going to leave everything as it is and the screenshot position as it is, and we'll click on Next. Now this is going to analyze our PowerPoint. It's going to work out the kinds of things that could be brought in from it, and you can see down at the bottom two tick boxes, the generate graphics from master slide and the import slide background. Both of these we want to remove because we don't want the original graphics from our original PowerPoint because they don't match the look and feel of what we're doing. Let's click on the Next button down in the bottom right hand corner, and then the Next button again, and this will start the import process. And all of the pages of content that were in your PowerPoint will now be recreated in Content Point. Clicking on Close, and then you'll see over on the right hand side all of the objects have now been imported into the pages. We'll have a look at one of the pages. Let's pick Charles Darwin as an example, and here you can see we've got the image from our PowerPoint, we've got the text from the page. Here's Charles Darwin at the top of the page, and if we don't like the orange there, we can just do a quick triple click to highlight the whole sentence, and we can click on the text color, choose other colors, and we'll just use our eyedropper over on the right hand side. We'll just drag the color panel over out of the way a little bit, just left click there to select that green that we now want to have as our title. So instead of orange titling, we've now got green titling. And that's our PowerPoint imported into Content Point. Really is as easy as that. Something we didn't have time for in the live workshop was to use capture points to capture something on screen. We imported a pre-prepared package into our module 3. So let's minimize Content Point, and we'll double click on the capture point icon on your desktop to launch it. And in the top left hand corner you'll see there's a document there with a green plus. Click on the green plus to start capturing the entire screen. Now we need to open up our Internet Explorer window here, and what we're going to do is add a seamer to our favorites. So we need to capture the entire screen, as I've said, clicking on Next. The area of the screen I'm going to set to be 985 pixels wide, 410 pixels high, so that window will fit into our netbooks and Galaxy Tab training course that we're building. So I'm going to click on Next, and if we want to end the recording, we must remember Control and E. That's really quite important. And also, if you want to record narration, you can just fit yourself with a headset, microphone, and record narration. Quite useful if you're working with a subject matter expert. Today we won't do that. We'll just click on the Finish button in the bottom right hand corner. Clicking on Finish, and you can see the red area of the screen that I'm going to capture, and I can click on the Start, and when I do click on Start you'll hear the camera shutter in the background. So there's the camera shutter as you just heard, and we're going to go to Favorites, and we're going to Add to Favorites. So here's our panel here, and we're going to alter the words there. We're just going to call this the ASEMA website, and you can perhaps hear typing in the background there. There's a camera shutter. We'll click on Add down at the bottom there. So that's added the ASEMA website, and we're going to Control and E to end the sequence. And here you can see select the favorite menu is highlighted. These are the steps that I took. We'll start off with the first thumbnail there, and we're going to modify that prompt. I'm going to click on the edit button in the bottom left hand corner, and I'm going to change this to say please select, because I'm a polite kind of person. I want it to say a nice sort of thing there, so click on OK. So that's now been modified. And if that yellow dialog box was obscuring something, we can just double click on the blue rectangle there, and it will rotate around on the spot there so that it positions itself to exactly where we'd like it to be. Step number 2, you can see we added to the favourites. Step number 3, we typed in the ACEMA website there. Step number 4, we clicked on the add button, and then step number 5, that's where we ended. Now, at any point in time, if I wanted to make changes, I can do. Let's say, for instance, there were things on this page that were protected by Data Protection Act. We weren't allowed to show. So let's say that over on this panel here, something needed changing. We've got an icon at the top there to edit the screenshot. It's a little pencil and a paintbrush icon. And this takes you through to a view of an application that's built into Content Point and also into Capture Point, and it allows you to make changes on the page. So let's say we wanted to alter this panel over here. So what I can do is I can select the area of the screen I want to delete. So let's just draw a box around there like that, and I can just press the delete key, and that's now gone. Now, that's left a bit of a big white space there, so I'm going to use my colour picker just to pick up the blue colour there, and then I'm going to fill in the colour there so that I've filled in that space so it doesn't look so obvious. And if I had a bit more time, I'd be a bit more elegant with it. So you can copy parts of the screen, you can draw shapes, you can change the colours around here to anything you want, including using the colour picker. So if I wanted to choose that pink, I can change the density, or I can put in the RGB or the hex values for whatever I wanted to do, or I could have picked a colour from another website. If I wanted to also use a paintbrush, I can draw things around there if I wanted to as well. When I'm happy with the changes, I'll save those, and those changes are now made on this first step of my sequence. Now, I'm happy with the sequence as it stands, and I'm going to save the changes I've made so far, and I'm going to call this my TZ Live test. Doing a TZ Live, there we go, and we'll save that. That's terrific. Okay, now if I wanted to, I could also produce a Word document. So if you click on the Word icon up at the top and click on OK, and this will then convert my sequence into a handy user guide that will give step-by-step instructions for our user how to work their way through the training. We'll click on OK, and here we've got a template already branded. We've got the title at the top, we've got the instructions with the modifications that we've made, the notes that we've got there, and page number and the version control down at the bottom there. Okay, so we'll save the changes that we've made so far, and we'll just leave this Word document and come back to Capture Point. So that's the end of capturing. We need to bring this into Content Point. We must first close Capture Point down. Once we've closed Capture Point down, we need to come back to Content Point, and we need to save the changes that we've made to any previous pages, and we're then going to come over to our Training Explorer on the right hand side and select Chapter 3 as being the chapter that we're going to target for this incoming captured sequence. Having selected our Module 3 as the target, we're going to come up to our icon bar where you can see the orange Capture Point icon. We're going to click on the orange Capture Point icon, and again, quality of images is set to 70%. We'll click on Browse, and this takes us through to our TZ Live test capture we just created. So I'm going to double click on that, or you could select it and OK, and we'll click on the Next button. Now we've got a full screen capture. We would sometimes have selected full screen being 1024/768. I selected full screen being every layer, but a much narrower height and width. So we want to have a background image to go with this incoming captured sequence. So I'm going to choose a new background image, and I'm going to have my 1024/600 content there at the top. Selecting that and clicking on OK. And yes, I want to insert that background image. Again, I don't want that blue menu bar at the bottom because I've got my more advanced navigation bars. Do I want menu buttons and back buttons? Yes, I do on every page, but in actual fact, in this incoming sequence, I don't want to have next buttons visible, so I'm going to make them all hidden. The other thing I'm going to do, I want my slide number 13 to be my menu button target, because I've got show me and try me and test me buttons that we saw earlier, and they're on slide 13. That's acting as a sub-menu. So as my learner goes through this sequence, I want them to be able to come back to the beginning. So I'm going to click on choose, and I'm going to select slide 13, and I'm going to go and search for it. Once I've searched for it, I found slide 13, we're going to click on OK, and we'll now click on the next button. Here's the capture point options, and I don't want my text inputs to be transparent. I want to have white boxes behind where I've typed things in, and I'm going to have all 5 slides. We're going to click on next and then next again down at the bottom right hand corner there. So my captured sequence has now been imported, and I'll click on the close button in the bottom right hand corner, and here you can see my captured sequence has been imported. We could open on any one of these pages and preview a single page, but I'd like to show you how you can view these using Show Me and Try Me and Test Me. So rather than doing the preview up at the top there, I want to introduce you to Generate Draft Training, that icon there. It's the same as pressing F5. So if you'd like to click on Generate Draft Training or press F5, and this will generate offline the entire training package. Now, when you see the option there, the dialog, it says yes or no to do you want to preview it? Well, you could click on yes, but I'd rather you didn't. What I want you to do is hold down your Control and your Shift key. They're next to each other on the bottom left hand corner, and just press the Enter key once. And what that will do, it will run your training full screen without being able to have to put up with Internet Explorer furniture. So there's your whole training package full screen, and here's our chapter 3, the capture point sequence. And if I'd like you to click on that button, and you can see here's our Show Me and Try Me and Test Me buttons. And if I just go into Try Me, you can see that this is our first step of our sequence, and you can see there's no next button down at the bottom. Our learner can't just click on next, next, next and work their way through. So clicking on Favorites and then Add to Favorites, here you can see we've got the SEMA website here. There we go, and clicking on the Add button. So that's the end of our sequence, and if we click on the menu button, that will take us back to the beginning. So that's our captured sequence successfully imported, and we're going to exit from this preview. Yes, I want to close the window. The last thing we're going to have a look at now is quizzes. So if you'd like to go back to your workbooks and turn over to page 28, and we're going to start having a look at the multiple choice quiz. So over in your Training Explorer on the right hand side, if you would like to double click on module 4, this is your final quiz, and you've got your quiz page, slide 14, that we're going to open. If you'd like to double click on slide 14 and select the quiz frame that's on the page. And you'll see there's an example of the quiz frame on the page here. You've got an example question. Let's have a look at a few of the properties that are really important to us. The first thing that's really important is the quiz weight. You can see here it's set to be 100%. That means this quiz will add everything to our learner's final score. Let's scroll down the page. We want to have a look at some of the questions, and we want to add a question. So I'm going to take you to question 04 on the little grey block that's over on the right hand side. And here's my edit text panel, and I'm going to start typing in a question, and our question is going to be, which of these are rivers in England? There we go, that's our question. First line is always the question line. Second line, we're going to have the choices that will be the correct options for our learner to select. So number 2, followed by a hash symbol, just to be a joining instruction to the system. So 2 and 4, if you had 1 and 3 and 5, it would be 1 hash 3 hash 5. So that second line is the numbers that you put in for the correct choices. Quick carried return. We need a feedback line here, so we'll have the rivers Thames and Trent are in England. There we go. And on to the next line, we've got our choices. So we'll start off with the Seine, and then we'll have the Trent, and we'll have the Danube, we'll have the Thames, And finally, we'll have the Rance. It's a lovely river in northern France. So we've got 5 choices, but number 2 is correct and number 4 is correct. So we'll click on OK, and we'll save the changes that we've made so far. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to preview our quiz, make sure that we're doing this correctly. So if you'd like to do an F5 again to generate draft training, and remember, instead of clicking on yes, we'll do Control and Shift and Enter, and that will allow us to preview. Here you can see we've got a bookmarking asset here that's on the page, and it's asking us, do we want to carry on from where we were last time? I'm going to click on no, because I want us to go through to the final quiz here. So I'm going to click on begin, and here's the question, true or false, London's the capital city of Belgium, and we'll click on false. Here we go, and here's our question about the rivers. You can see the randomised order. This was our last question, number 4, but it's now coming up in the 2nd position. And the first 2 choices here are the correct outcomes. Click on Submit and continue. And planet close to the Sun is Mercury, and we've got Paris and London and Rome are cities in Europe. Here we go. I'll click on Continue. So we've got that correct, and we can collect our certificate at the end. Now that's all ready to go, so we're happy with this. I'm going to exit from here and click on yes, I do want to close this. Now the last thing we might want to do is to publish this to make sure that it's available for our learners to view. So what we'll do is we will make sure that we've saved everything that we've done so far, and we need to select the publish training icon up at the top there. You can see where my mouse is. Looks like a film reel on a document. So we're going to left click on that, and it's going to make it available to all learners. And the answer is yes, I do want to do this. It takes a couple of seconds just to publish the training. And what we're going to do next is we're going to preview this, but we're going to have a look at this in Knowledge Point. So we're not going to preview it through Content Point. So I'd like you to click on No there. And we'll go straight into Knowledge Point to be able to preview the training that we've created. We're going to look at this training in Knowledge Point. Up in the top right hand corner there you can see Run Knowledge Point. Now what you'll need to do is to click on this link and then come back and quit from Content Point. What I've got is here we go, here's our login screen to Knowledge Point. I'm going to log in with another login just momentarily there, and I'll just put in my password and log in. And here we've got our course folder there, Training Zone Live, and we've got our environmental awareness training, and you can see Run Training down at the bottom. So if you'd like to click on Run Training, and here we go, straight into our training course, and this is what we've successfully built. So congratulations, you've just finished building your first training course. That's the end of this session. If you do have any queries, please do feel free to email us. That's marketing@acema.net, or you can call for a chat, and you can call us on 0118 929 8368. That's 0118 929 8368. And I'd just like to say thank you very much indeed for watching.